Diaries of a Madman. By What Must I Do? Chapter 192. Part 1 of 5. Poster's note. You may notice the different sizes of each video for this chapter. I did the cuts for the next video at the next memory part. I think this will help it flow better. I did the same thing on the last chapter and the file sizes turned out close to the same size. Not so much on this one. End poster's note. Author's note. Man, work is nuts. End author's note. I wasn't too surprised that we ended up in Luna's room, watching her do some very lewd things to me. What was surprising is that the table I was strapped to was now a very pretty bed of flowers. So, this is Luna's estrus, I said, crossing my arms. Mixed with some more of the weird plant shit. It is, my guide said. This is when you finally had enough of Luna. I gave her 2 chances too many. I should have walked away after the first night. You shouldn't have given her a chance to begin with, Fear said. Celestia warned you that it might be unwise. It really shouldn't have been a surprise, Pain said. At this point, you had suspicions about Luna's sanity. I did have some, yes, I said. But I never expected her to actually want to hurt me. That caught me off guard and scared me. Thankfully, it was the wake-up call that I needed. There was never a time when I wanted to be with Luna, but after she hurt me, my fear of what else she might do finally trumped my fear of rejecting her. It made cutting off any possible romantic stuff super easy. You probably should have stood up for yourself sooner, Pain said. Yeah. But as I said, I was really worried about hurting her. I didn't know how either sister would react, so I just went with it. I did that a lot. You do that a lot, Fear said. I guess so. Do we have a memory for this? God, I hope not. We do, thankfully. Pain said. I just know it'll hurt. Well, it can't be worse than watching Luna awkwardly hump me, I said, finally turning to face the 2 spirits. So what do we have? Fear reached up and poked me. This memory was also taking place in Luna's room. All the lights were out, Luna was on the bed crying, and Celestia was standing above her, trying not to smile. I told you it was a bad idea, Celestia said. Go away. I assumed you'd want news from Navi. I just got back from speaking with him. Luna sniffled and looked up. Her eyes were bloodshot and her face was a mess. What did he say? Well, the good news is that he'll continue being your knight. Luna's ears shot up and she seemed relieved. The bad news is that you horrified him so much that's about all he'll continue being. And that crushed her. She buried her head back into the pillow and sobbed. In fact, he saw straight through you. You never loved him. You just wanted a tame predator. That's not true. Luna wailed, though she didn't look up. He certainly seemed to think so. From some of what you said, I'm inclined to agree. You do so enjoy your predators, after all. You monster. Get out. There's no need to shoot the messenger, sister, Celestia sweetly said. I'm just relaying your wonderful human's words. Luna was silent for a few long seconds before sobbing again. Why do I always scare every pony away? I just wanna be normal. Oh my dear sweet Luna, Celestia said, reaching a hoof up to her sister's shoulder. We aren't normal. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you can be happy. Is some pony tea to love, really so much to ask? Of course not, Luna. Remember, you will always have your big sister. You may have driven yet another suitor off, but I will never leave you. And Nav will still serve you. If he gives you any trouble, tell me and we'll reinstate his oaths. There's no reason for him to be free of them now that you're no longer in some manner of relationship. I want some pony to hold me. Some pony to make love to me. Some pony to spark something inside of me, to put some form of life in this cold heart of mine. I felt something when I first met Nav. A pull. It's like nothing I've ever felt, sister. It drew me to him, made me want him. And now he wants nothing to do with me. I've driven away the only being I've ever felt a connection to. Celestia watched her sister for nearly a minute, just listening to her cry. She actually seemed concerned, either for her sister or by what she just heard. Describe this pull you felt, Luna, she finally said. Why? Luna bitterly asked. So you can mock me for that, too. You never mentioned it before. In all of our talks about Nav, you never said what made you begin desiring him. What manner of pull did you feel? All of my thought trains seemed to always go back to him. I found myself wanting to spend more and more time with him. I started allowing him to call me Luna instead of Princess. He even tickled me and I didn't cane him. I don't know what it was, but something about him just pulled me in. Even now, knowing how much I hurt him, I still want nothing more than to see him come walking through that door. I feel as though any indignity would be worth returning to his good graces. Please sister, did he mention any possible chance of forgiveness? Oh no, he was quite clear that he was extremely done and that he was stupid for letting it go as long as he did. There is no way he will ever give you another chance. Luna's whole body sank against the bed and she began sobbing again. Celestia grinned and said, "Don't worry, little sister. I'll always be here for you." That ended the memory. Celestia was really good at manipulation, I said. And also being a massive bitch. What's the takeaway from this one? This is your confirmation that Luna also felt the pull toward you, Fear said. And if I had to guess, I'd say that Celestia was the same. Her calculating silence betrayed her. We already knew Luna felt it, but I guess actual confirmation is nice. So my lesson for Luna's estrus is that I need to stop letting things happen to me. If somebody does something fucked up to me, maybe I shouldn't put them in a position to do something even worse. That's not to say forgiveness isn't possible, but I shouldn't have given Luna 3 chances to hurt me. That seems like a decent lesson, Payne said. So what does it say about the rapist vassals of yours that you're still sleeping with? I'm definitely planning on cutting back on the number of people I do lewd things with. That said, I'm not doing it because they raped me, I'm doing it because they're vassals. That's part of the forgiveness thing at play. Are you sure you should even leave them as that? Fear asked. No. We'll see what happens later on down the line. Shall we press on? I really don't want to keep watching this. Instead of appearing in a new memory, we ended up back in the glade. One of the things this coma allows is listening to what those close to you say when they are nearby. Why would anybody be nearby right now? I ask. I'm in a coma. There has been someone at your side since the moment you got here. Usually it's Taya or Kot, but they don't typically talk and it's never been anything important. Why would they waste time sitting here? How long have I been here, anyway? Obviously not 3 weeks, yet. I am unsure. Would you like to hear what Luna is saying? Sure, why not? I started hearing Luna's voice directly in my ears. There was once a time I did much research on this coma. I strongly considered doing it myself, but in the end, decided I was better off being miserable. That said, I know what you will go through. I know what you might see. And I know that it is possible for you to hear this. It has been 4 days. I figured you might be curious. Well, that answers that, I said. Is there any way for us to talk to her? There is not, my guide said. I shrugged and let Luna continue. If I am correct, becoming a vassal will be enough to show you things from my mind. That is not the only reason I decided to become a vassal, but it was part of it. In case you don't end up seeing anything, and in case you can actually hear this. Celestia and I plan to use you from the start. I don't know if she ever told you, but I was too afraid to ever tell you. Even now, the only reason I can still my beating heart enough to say it is that I know there's a chance you'll never hear. How noble of you, I sarcastically replied. For so long, I wanted nothing more than to be normal. But I am not. My mind is broken. Already, you have taught me so much. Assuming you forgive me for my intentions, I know you will help me finally learn to fit in. I know there is no chance I will ever hold your heart, but being by your side is enough. As long as whatever you see in there doesn't make you cast me away, I will thrive. How long do you think she'll keep talking? I ask. Probably until she leaves or Hira tries to tame her, my guide said. I imagine she'll be here for a while. It took her an hour to work up the nerve to say anything. Can you give me the abbreviated version later? No. Either you listen or you do not hear. How much time do I really want to dedicate listening to this? Aqua thinks that is a very selfish reasoning, my guide said. Aqua has been informed to keep her nose the fuck out, I said. Unless they have something extremely pertinent to add, they can just sit back and watch. That shut them up and let me go back to listening to Luna. She wasn't really talking about anything interesting, just more woe is me nonsense about how depressed and weird she was. It was kinda dull. After about a minute or two, I finally nodded. Yeah, I'm done here. Let's go back to memory chasing. If she's still here when I'm done with the next one, we'll see if she's saying anything interesting. Gotta say, it's super convenient I got here right as she started talking. You didn't, my guide said. I stored her speech and relayed it back. If you can do that, why can't you just give me the short version? Because I am incapable of actually hearing what they say. I can only know that they are speaking. I store what they say in your short-term memory and purge it when you decide you're done listening. That's weird. If it's stored in my short-term memory, why can't you just transfer it to my long-term memory and make it as though I heard the entire conversation? I have limited access to your brain. Your elementals have it under lock and key. What part of sit the fuck back and watch do you fuckers not understand? I ask. If this weird-ass coma shit is trying to access my brain, let it. It's not like it can get any worse than putting me in a coma. There is also the problem that memory doesn't quite work like that, the guide said. One of them could likely manipulate it so that you think you actually heard what she was saying. But as it stands, I don't think I would be capable of actually making it work. In that case, stop sitting the fuck back and help. Just, not in a way that would hinder my potential self-growth. They both snorted contemptuously. That's fair. Let me know when a conversation is incoming and give me time to prepare myself before they implant it. Now let's get going. As you desire, my guide said. Her eyes flashed and we zoomed off. We appeared in Alpha Hive. It was currently under attack by a shit ton of giant ants. I sighed and hung my head. I know why we're here. And why is that? My guide asked. This is when I first caught the gay. I expected a slap to the back of the head, but it never came. That is incorrect, my guide said. We are here for several reasons. First, because this is when you did the most to break your relationship with Twilight. Second, because this is when you obtained flow. Third, because this is when you agreed to help Chrysalis change. Oh, those make much more sense. So why did we show up when the ants were attacking? It was an extremely vivid experience, Reason said. It stuck with you. Can't really deny that, I said, turning around. It was actually just her this time. Wow. Where is everyone? You were too numb to feel much of anything for some time after the estrus, Reason said. Pain, pride, and fear all belong here, along with possibly hope and love. But alas, I am all that is present. I'm guessing the lesson might have something to do with that, I said. There are many things to learn from what happened here, she said. Are you prepared for the first memory? Yep. I bopped her before she could bop me. I didn't expect it to work, but it actually did. It dumped me in Brayburn's dining room. Twilight and her 5 friends were there, along with my daughter and Spike. Twilight looked pretty upset, to be honest. So how was the hive? Pinky excitedly asked. It was awful, Twilight said. Are you kidding? Spike asked. It was great. Well, until you freaked out. How could I not? Twilight demanded. That was horrible. You were the only one that freaked out, Spike said. The rest of us were just fine. Why were you freaking out? Rarity slowly asked. The feeding chamber. It was awful. Most of the ponies were crying while the changelings just mindlessly fed on them. That's not true, Taya said. Only the ones not being fed on were crying. The others were happy. That's right, Spike said. How could you even tell? You were too busy attacking the changelings. You attacked them? Dash asked. Why? Did you hurt any pony? Applejack asked. Where's Nav? Fluttershy quietly whispered. That's a good question. Where is Nav? Rarity added. Still at the hive. Twilight said. He and Chrysalis forced me to leave. Well, you did attack them, Rarity said. I'm surprised she allowed you to leave at all. She's really nice, Taya said. I don't think she would keep any of us there. Not if Daddy vouched for them. You mean aside from all the prisoners she was keeping hostage? Twilight bitterly asked. That bug is evil. She didn't seem that evil to me, Pinky said. I mean, didn't the princess give her those prisoners? No pony deserves that, Twilight said. It was awful. It really wasn't that bad, Spike said. You're just being dramatic. I have to say, I'm hesitant to approve of ponies being fed on, Rarity said. It's not like they have anything better to do, Applejack said with a shrug. Might as well spend their time doing good. I'd rather it be prisoners than innocent ponies they nabbed off the streets. That's a pretty good point, Dash said. How did they even stop you? I figured you'd be unstoppable in a fight. Daddy calmed her down, Taya smugly replied. Did he tickle you? Pinky asked. No. Did he seduce you again? Rarity asked. No. Did he wrestle you? Applejack asked. Kinda. He jumped on my back, put his evil ring on my horn, then forced his crossbow sling in my mouth as a bit. Oh, not much you can do to come back from that, Pinky said. Nav's really good at staying on bucking ponies. He'll wear you out and force you into submission. Fluttershy quietly squeaked. But only if you start it, of course. So why did he stay? Applejack asked. I think he just wants to sleep with the queen. Twilight said, slamming a hoof on the table. Is that a problem? Dash slowly asked. Wah. Of course it's a problem. She's evil. She tried to take over Canterlot and she succeeded in taking over my brother. Right, Pinky said with a nod. Because she needed food. Now she has food. She literally admitted to being evil. She did, actually, Taya said. Well, sorta. She said she's evil to someone like you. And a pony should think she's evil. Nav obviously disagrees, Fluttershy said. Well, Nav isn't a pony, Twilight said. I'm realizing more and more as time goes on just how different our minds really are. Nav is utterly alien to me at times. This is one of them. I just don't know how he can stand being around those things after seeing those prisoners. He kinda has to be able to stand it, Pinky said. It was his idea, right? It was, Twilight said. And I don't know if I can ever forgive him for it. Not after that. And that was all she thought. I got dumped back into the main memory about a minute or two after the ants all stopped moving. What a drama queen, I said, crossing my arms. I bet I learned it from her. You both played it off each other, Reason said. Which is part of why you're so good together. And also part of why you'll probably not be together for much longer. Not gonna lie, Twilight can be super fucking annoying. I haven't said anything about it because I'm just as bad if not worse, but man. We can talk about it when we get there, though. Do you think you made a mistake here, Nav? The way you're asking that question makes me think you're hoping for a yes but expecting a no. She didn't reply. Then I guess I'll talk it out. I didn't want Twilight to come. I told her that joining us would be a terrible idea. She decided to come anyway and proceeded to be a complete bitch the whole time. She ended her bitchiness by attacking changelings. Do I think I could have been nicer? Yeah, probably. But do I think the mistake here was mine? Not really. Seems like Twilight's the one who fucked up. I'm not sure anything I could have said or done would have changed this outcome. What if you hadn't given Fido to the changelings? Reason asked. Then I wouldn't have met Flo. Sure, I wouldn't have fallen out with Twilight so hard, but I don't really consider that as such a bad thing. Getting my own house was pretty important for a number of reasons, and that never would have happened if Twilight and I stayed friendly. It was probably dumb of me to provoke her so much, but I was really getting tired of her shit at this point. And not just that, of course. You were tired in general. What happened with Luna drained you. You just didn't have any patience. I sure didn't, I said with a nod. Unfortunately, Twilight usually requires a lot of patience to deal with. She's better in some ways and worse in others, now. Twilight lacks self-control and self-confidence, Reason said. At least, in some areas. She is learning more of both through her interactions with you. So what's the takeaway from this little snippet? I ask. Your friendliness with the changelings horrified Twilight and some of the other ponies, she replied. And what Celestia allowed the changelings to do with the prisoners seriously upset Twilight. The fact that it was your idea terrified her even more. Well, what Celestia allowed them to do upset me too. And the fact that it was my idea also terrifies me. So I guess both of those are fair. Are you saying that it's a bad thing, or are you just commenting on it? I'm stating that it's a fact. Do you consider it to be a bad thing? Not really. Again, if things hadn't gone bad with Twiggles, I wouldn't have moved out. And I don't regret being friendly with the changelings. I'm happy I helped bring them back into the world. Twilight eventually saw the error of her ways and opened her legs for me again, so everything worked out in the end. Then let's move on. Are you prepared for what's next? I guess that depends. I sure hope so. End of part 1.